Did you know that before RuneScape came an iteration of the game called DeviousMUD? Maybe you did, maybe you didn't, and you probably haven't been around this game as long as I have. Well, some of you have, but not everybody. Maybe you're kind of new. So let's take a little trip down RuneScape history lane and check out some interesting facts about what could have been the game we all know and love, just under a different title. DeviousMUD was Andrew Gower's earliest official attempt at an MMORPG, and if you don't know who that is, Andrew Gower was the creator of RuneScape. This was a one-man project that he initially set up in 1998. The game was never actually released to the public and only had one player, Andrew Gower himself. The MUD, M-U-D, in DeviousMUD actually stands for Multi-User Dungeon. Knowing this, we know that it was intended to eventually be an MMORPG. This game had an incredibly small bandwidth requirement at only 0.3 kilobits per second. Even playing on dial-up internet, you'd see virtually no lag because of this incredibly small bandwidth requirement. Because of this, the DeviousMUD server could actually handle more players than RuneScape could when it came around later. The game was a pseudo 3D game which uses isometric graphics. And if you don't know what that is, an isometric graphic is a 2D illustration or a 3D object that gives the illusion of depth by showing three sides of an object from a single fixed point of view, which would be the camera angle. This sort of graphic is created using a specific 30-degree angle for horizontal lines while maintaining vertical lines. DeviousMUD in its entirety was written in Java code. This meant that players didn't have to download anything in the final version of the game and could play it directly in their internet browser, just like the original RuneScape and RuneScape 2. I remember logging in on my CompuServe browser, wow, that takes me back, way back in 2003 to play this game on my dial-up internet. Oh, how times have changed. The maximum combat level in DeviousMUD was actually only 52. Could you imagine playing a game where you only max out at level 52? With the weapons and armor that we have today, the comparison of power cannot even be made. We have weapons and armor that allow us to hit upwards of 80 and 90 damage in certain situations. If you look back and look at level 52 combat, your max hit would maybe be 12, assuming you're a main build. DeviousMUD players could have a dog follow them and help aid them in combat. This was a little quirk about the game that not many people know about. However, the dog was actually very weak and did die quickly, but to me this sounds like an early idea for the summoning skill, don't you think? Another little known fact is DeviousMUD 2 was actually a thing. In 1999, the original DeviousMUD was completely scrapped and the code was entirely rewritten. This version of the game actually was released to the public for a 1-week beta. In this version of the game, there were actual objects such as weapons and armor and a single quest, the Sheep Shearer quest. That was the first quest any of the iterations of RuneScape and DeviousMUD ever saw. The funny thing about this quest in DeviousMUD 2 is that it wasn't even finished when the beta went live. Although the beta was released for DeviousMUD 2, it didn't really have much you could do in the game. There was only about 10 objects and 2 shops to explore. Fortunately, when we got the upgrade to RuneScape, hundreds of more shops and buildings were added. With so little to do, I'm really not sure many of us would have stuck around for the world's best clicking simulator. Here's something that is pretty interesting. DeviousMUD actually had a customizable screen, which is definitely curious. If it could be done in DeviousMUD, I wonder why it was that we didn't get a customizable screen until much later in a more advanced iteration of the game. I remember when that customizable screen came out all of those years ago, and it was mind-blowing. You could move things around, resize things. The resizable mode changed everything. As for the DeviousMUD 2 beta, only about 200 people ever got to explore the world of DeviousMUD before the beta was closed off. Although it is such a small sample size, without those 200 people, we might never have gotten the RuneScape we have today. The code for DeviousMUD 2 was also scrapped in October of 1999. At this point, Gower decided that this was no longer a one-man project and roped his 2 brothers, Paul and Ian, into the project. Once all 3 brothers were on board, DeviousMUD ended and RuneScape Classic was born. And from there, the rest is history. At the time, RuneScape Classic wasn't actually RuneScape Classic, it was just RuneScape. RuneScape Classic came around once the official RuneScape 2 was launched, and that is how we got RuneScape Classic. RuneScape Classic was around for quite a long time, but eventually that game mode was closed off because the player base just dropped and there was probably only about 50 people playing by the time the game was closed off. Now, the reason I made this video is because I have come to the realization that I have been playing old school RuneScape or some iteration of the game for almost 25 years, and that was ridiculous to me because I've never actually looked into the history of RuneScape and some events that happened that shaped the game that we know as old school RuneScape today. So I wanted to do a little digging and learn for myself about the background of the game, what happened, and what took us to where we are right now. This video series is going to be more like a podcast on my YouTube channel. There won't be many graphics, only when I can throw them in and when they're relevant, so you can just put it on and listen to it in the background while you grind away at whatever skill you're training, whatever boss you're trying to greenlog, or anything like that. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this quick video today, and if you wouldn't mind, I would like if you liked the video down below, because it does help the algorithm. It pushes the video out and lets other people see it that otherwise might not. If you like content like this, hit that subscribe button on your way out. I will see you guys soon for another RuneScape history video. Take it easy.